One of the greatest software engineers of all time just broke down how he created and designed the Go programming language. And the language itself is one of the most beloved, well-used, well-respected languages in the industry right now. And I'm of course talking about Ken Thompson, who's describing his time at Google when he was one of the lead engineers and code developers of the Go programming language since he joined Google back in 2006. And for those who may not even know who Ken is, he is an American pioneer of computer science. He worked at Bell Labs for the most of his career where he designed and implemented the original Unix operating system. He also invented the B programming language, a direct predecessor to the C language, and was one of the creators and early developers of the Plan 9 operating system. Other notable contributions included his work on regular expressions and early computer text editors QED and ED, the definition of the UTF-8 encoding system, and his work on the computer chess that included the creation of endgame table bases and the chess machine Bell. And of course, since 2006, he worked at Google where he co-developed the Go programming language. So when you want to compare cracked engineers, I think this should definitely be one of the names at the top.
The way Go came about is that I went to a talk at Google, and it was the Google representative for the ANSI standard for C++. And he'd just come back from a standards meeting and described the new stuff. And the new stuff, in my opinion, was bigger than the language, right?
The new features are bigger than language. I feel like this is definitely a lost philosophy, especially when it comes to frameworks nowadays. I think a lot of time you start with something and it's great and you add new improvements into it and they just get lost. React, Next, even Go to a certain extent. Nowadays, the new features, it really looks like it's evolving into a whole new language.
And it was, I didn't understand most of it. It was forms of pointers that meant some other thing besides pointer. It's the data, but it had notions on the data or something. I told you I didn't understand it. And it goes on and on and on. And it was an hour talk that was dense on just the improvements, so-called improvements to C++. And some of my friends like Griesemer and Pike.
Those are the other co-developers and founders of the Go programming language alongside Ken Thompson, who created Go.
We're complaining about, in Google, there's one repository of source, and you can reference it by library from any source that you go in. So you can write a 10-line program and have a 5 million line compilation on your hands, right? And
that sounds very messy.
And more than that, some of these things, like the simplest libc or something like that, library, will be loaded and examined hundreds of thousands of times.
Wow. So
you'd have gigalines of codes coming in on every compilation. Now, a lot of that was attacked and fixed, where they would keep track. The compiler would keep track of what was seen and just not open it or look at it. Right? It was like a cache version of, don't look at this. You've already seen it. And for all the libraries that have these so-called if-defs at the beginning to keep it from being done twice. And
so I feel like, were they complaining about how small line changes would still need to be compiled to like gigabits of lines? Is that what Griesemer, Pike were complaining about, which eventually led him to build Go?
But it would call on him hundreds of thousands. I mean, the
right.
Staggering. And then they had a big chunk of the Google Data Center. They'd had hundreds of CPUs doing a compilation for you, right?
Ah, I see.
And then now things just got worse and worse and worse, and those were getting large. You'd wait 15 minutes with 100 computers, compiling a 10-line program.
Obviously, that's a problem with the amount of people that Google employed at that time and what they're developing on. Especially, remember, this is like early 2000s, right? I think this is like 2007 when they first, or even 2006. So this is back when Google was like the software spot to be. Lots of brilliant people. This is when Google poached everyone from Bell Labs and all the other brilliant software engineers, and they're trying to push really the envelope. So every single change going through like compilation like this could definitely be a problem and hurt iteration speed.
And so that was Rob's big. But Rob was much more into Google software than I was. And that was Rob's big, that it was just horribly complex as it was. And so the three of us got in an office and said, what are we going to do about it? I said, let's write a language.
That's so gangster. Could you imagine? Man, there's a root problem here at the whole company for the software engineering side, which impacts both software and hardware. What should we do? The three Chads get in a room and say, let's just make a new language.
So we wrote a language.
They don't make them like this anymore.
And that was it. And it was a very good combination of Rob understood the problems at Google.
Mm-hmm.
I'd had language and compilations history, and Griesemer was a Swiss jack of all languages. He knew every piece of every language theoretically.
Looks like it sounds like Thompson really hit the harder part, which is the compilation, garbage collection, and all that stuff. But I mean, these three people are units. Like, this is a crazy team.
In existence, it was just a good combination.
It was
at Google again after I left. Some of the follow-on guys wrote a set of libraries that are just great. They're just magnificent.
Okay, so this is when I think when the original three developed the Go programming language, I think it was much more bare bone, kind of like C, really no batteries included. And I think now he's alluding to it. We still have to watch. There's not that much left. But I think now he's alluding to the fact that other engineers, brilliant engineers, even open source contributors helped develop the standard library, which I've spoken to about in my channel before. One of the best parts about Go, when it was first released for public use, when it's still used now and it's still, talked about, is the standard library, how it features everything. And there's very, 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 few reasons to go out and use something that's not included in the standard library. That's not to say you can't, but it's just that a lot of the times, everything you need is already within the language.
And now I write in Go almost exclusively, and almost exclusively I use nothing but the standard libraries for anything. It's simple. Anybody can learn it in an hour.
Yeah, facts. Anyone can learn in an hour. I always say that Go is probably the easiest language to learn. I think it's easier to learn than TypeScript or JavaScript. I think the only language that might be easier is Python.
There's websites that, and by the end you think you know it. You then may have to go back to reference manuals to get it exact. And there's a window that comes up, which is your version of a terminal with CL running, and you type it, and it's fast enough that you type a program, and as you're typing it, it's running it and gives you the answer.
I thought that was a very interesting video. I love seeing these kind of like pull the curtain back and see what the brilliant minds were that made Go. And a lot of people don't like Go. I personally do like it. I'd love to see the ideas and thought patterns that went behind making something like this. So I thought it was a very interesting video. I like the fact that it kind of evolved from something, they identified a problem at Google, made something to try to solve it, left, and then other people made it even better. I think made it even like more publicly accessible. If you want to watch the rest of the video or the video itself, a clip will be in the description down below. Let me know what you guys think. Always, thank you for subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.